we make arguments into things they're not about. They're not about. Dan Campbell has gone for it and said he's gone for it, and his logic behind it is, I believe in my guys. It's how we want to play. We want to be aggressive. Correct? Jay Stu, you've cut through all this tape. Have you heard anything otherwise?
No, I think we have that, Lorena, right? Let's play what he says about fourth downs.
I just felt really good about us converting and getting our momentum and not letting them play long ball. You know, they were bleeding the clock out. That's what they do. And I wanted to get the upper hand back. It's easy hindsight, and I get it, you know. I get that. But I don't regret those decisions, and that's hard. You know, it's hard because, you know, we didn't come through. It wasn't able to work out, but I don't. And I understand the scrutiny I'll get. That's part of the gig, man. You know, we just didn't work out.
Look, I loved his post-game speech, and I have no issue with the guy. And we all learn things from experiences from games, players, coaches, whatever. And my guess is next time around, he may have a different opinion of it. You're allowed to evolve and change in your opinions of it. But tell me if you've heard this, and Byer, you're probably the best guy to throw this out. How many people have you heard talk about this like he's using analytics? Oh, this is why I don't like analytics. How many people you've heard people say that, have you not?
Absolutely.
Has he mentioned analytics one time?
No.
Like, he never said anything about analytics. He was just all about, like, momentum, upper hand, bleeding out the clock. We're a team of force. We want to impose our will. This is how we want to play. Okay, so if you have a fight to pick with analytics, by all means, you can fight that fight. This isn't the forum. There's no discussion about analytics. No discussion. And, oh, yeah, by the way, it's always because we also think, everybody thinks that if there's the analytic card on going for it, not go for it, it just says go for it. Right? I guarantee if you were to ask any of these people, like, hey, I'll give you a situation here. What do you think the card says? Oh, it says go for it. It doesn't say go for it all the time. It doesn't. The other thing you'll hear from people, and this I understand, is like, hey, that's how he's coached the whole year. I get it. I do. Did he coach the whole year that way when they're up 24-10 on the road in the playoffs? If they were bleeding out the clock, which they were, running the football, going downhill, like, would it make sense to kick that field goal, go up 17 points so it's 3 scores, not 2? Here's how much I know that playoffs on the road, you take the points. Right? You take the points. It's in the first half. They got stuck at I think the 2 or 3 yard line or something like that. And it might have been the first or second drive of the game. And I'm listening. Okay, so I was driving home from Las Vegas to Orange County, coach my son's basketball tournament. And I got home for the last, the second half of the fourth quarter. But I was watching the game on, my son had the iPad all set up. So we're watching the game on YouTube TV, and I was listening to the game on Sirius XM. You have all these different channels. So that part of the game I was listening on the Lions radio network. And they get ready to kick the field goal, and all of them say to a man, well, that's smart, on the road, in the playoffs, take the points. Always just take points. Keep scoring points. So please stop with the analytics is the devil. He never mentioned analytics. And maybe analytics plays a factor in it, but Dan Campbell seems to be a pretty honest salesman, pretty straight shooter. And if he never once mentions analytics, neither can you as part of this, whether you like or dislike the decisions. Dan Campbell is a football guy. He's old school, and he's like, this is what I want to do. And I think he cost himself a Super Bowl. It's the old, more games are lost than won. So I'm not going to allow analytics to become part of this discussion. And I hear you on what you do in the regular season, but it's like this in basketball, it's like this in baseball, and it sure as hell is like this in football. It's a different sport in the playoffs. We just talked about Lamar Jackson. The dude cannot be stopped in the regular season, highly stoppable in the playoffs. Why? It's a different sport. Yes, Dan Byer.
There's also different situations. And the reason why the Lions kicked the field goal at the end of the first half, which I know some people are saying, well, why did you kick it then, but you didn't kick it in other scenarios? It's because you aren't pitting the 49ers back and forcing them to go 97 yards. That's another, a reason on why maybe you go for it in those close situations. If it's the end of the half, you're not gaining anything field position-wise by going for it and then not getting it. Like in that scenario, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I would, say, Doug, and in that scenario, especially with the second time in the fourth quarter when they were down 3, it was a 47-48-yard field goal, and people have said, well, that's not an automatic. Completely agree. But you also gave the 49ers somewhat decent field position at the 30-yard line anyway from turning it over and then allowing them to go down and getting the score that ultimately won the game for San Francisco. But a lot of different situations and miscomments and mischaracterizing the situations that they were in.
Yes, and the point you made, which is a really good one, is let's also remember not all these field goals are 100% going in. Like we do go oh, you gave away 3 points. They're like, well, that's a hard field goal.
Yeah.
San Francisco's not an easy place to, St. Clair's not an easy place to kick. Okay? So but I just thought there was a couple which felt like this is an easy call.
Yes. I was split, honestly, Doug. I was split on the 2 crucial calls. I thought they should have gone for it on one and kicked on the other.
Yes, I thought they should have kicked when they're up 2 scores.
I'm the opposite.
Okay.
But still.
I just think when you have a lead, just keep scoring points.
Sure.
Keep scoring some points. Put some points on the board. Hey, we only got 3. That's okay. Keep scoring points because when you're sitting on the other sideline, damn, now we got to score 3 touchdowns?
I also think, and this goes against for what I'm thinking, but it does give the 49ers a sense of accomplishment. We got the 4th down stop. There's momentum.
No,
with that.
Listen, there's a real – I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, because you actually really helped me here. And I said this to Jay Stu. This is me pushing back on analytics, because analytics will tell you, there's this set percentage of based upon down, distance, and going for it, not going for it, whatever. But what it doesn't take into account is when you don't get it on 4th down, when you don't get it going for 2. Oftentimes, there's a deflating, especially you can score a touchdown. Go for 2, not get it. It almost feels like you didn't score.
Yep, agreed.
It almost feels like you didn't score. And so there's a real thing to it's you could go for it on 4th down. Everybody thinks, well, if you don't go for it, you're not really giving up that much field position. And you might have made the field goal, you might not. But when you get stopped, now all of a sudden, the energy's in the building, especially when you're on the road. Now, you could say you can get the same energy on a missed field goal. I don't think that's the case. Missed field goal, you feel like, whew. Stop on a 4th down, hell yeah, here we go. That's the difference between the 2.